reduction in revenue is about $570,000. So, you know, where we are now, even if we do the full tax increase, you can wash that off with the state reduction in revenues and say, well, we can't really blame where we are on the loss of the state revenues, because we'd still be in a pickle if that hadn't happened. And so I really think that there's a failure, some sort of systemic failure to track costs. I'm not sure what it is. I don't know how your business runs, but I'd like to see some system put in place so that there's careful attention so that we can preserve where we are now, because guess what? Next year we're going to be in the same place. And there's a lot happening at the state level in education. I'm a school choice proponent, as you know, and I'm very excited about the possibility of Pennsylvania joining 36 other states with open enrollment. I really hope that that passes. And I think we have to expect the expected, not just expect the unexpected. But the expected is that we're probably going to have more school choice, and we're probably going to lose the exceptions to the referendum. I mean, I think that's what Governor Corbett wants. I think there's a lot of support for that stuff at Harrisburg. So if we expect the expected, and we know that next year voters won't have to deal with this exception process, that there is a need to not only cut to meet this year's budget, but also plan for cuts so that we can be in balance next year. And so when I hear things like freeze, I know that's a one-year option, like the stimulus from the federal government. That was a one-year thing, and we should never have planned for it to continue. So we can't plan for this freeze to help us at all next year. So I'd like to see administrative cuts. I think we actually need to cut there, not just freeze. I think we need to plan for a step down and plan to be smaller. With open enrollment, I think it's likely that there will be people going to Latrobe and to United. And so that means less students. That means less food, possibly less busing. And so with that in mind, I work in a business where I have to contract for certain things, advertising, and I know that once you get into a contract, you're kind of stuck. So I'd like to see you work on shorter term contracts so that you have some flexibility. If you can do a 1 year versus a 3 year, go for the 1 year, because you don't know where we're going to be in 2 or 3 years. I'd rather see you contract for smaller amounts of busing and food, and I don't know any establishment that wouldn't give you more if you asked for it. So if you don't put yourself on the hook for a lot, you can probably up it if you need it by having an unexpectedly higher enrollment. And so I just would ask you to stay flexible, stay the course. This is very difficult, but I think you're on the right track right now, and I'd like to see you cut some more and especially focus on administrative costs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Cipa. Scott Boring, followed by Kristin Teeter.
Good evening. My name is Scott Boring from Fairfield Township. Just real quick, I had some things I wanted to talk about, but things have changed a little bit. On B4-11, you spoke earlier in the planning session about the forest companies, the loggers. I've had some personal experience with timber companies, and I would suggest that we get a professional forester to come in and look. Anytime you would clear cut a forest, I've been told through experience that you're looking anywhere from 75 to 100 years for that forest to come back where it was. So you pretty much decimate that portion of the forest. Item F2611 and F2711, Mrs. Cipa touched on this. I was curious when I was reading the agenda, a red flag came up to me, and that flag was with the nutrition group saving us, I'm not sure what, $27,000, I think you said, Dr. Oldham, and we're giving them a 1 year contract. I was wondering then why Inshore Technologies was given or we're going to vote to go with a 3 year contract for them. That kind of threw a red flag up to me as to why that was.
Actually, it's a state regulation where food services is involved. There's a very strict process that you have to follow, and once a food service company is selected, they are selected for a five year period, up to a 5 year period, with annual renewals. And so they're,
So that should be written down as a renewal.
it could be. Actually, what we file with the state is called a renewal.
Okay. Now, the Assured Technologies 2-3-year deal, why is that? Is that something that we put out to bid to other companies that do the same services?
No, we did, I think it was 2 years ago, and we've had Inshore for the last this year and this last school year. The majority of their school districts do have 3-year contracts, and that's what they're proposing to us. They are maintaining the initial fee of $95,000 that they started with 2 years ago, and so in essence, what they're saying is with a 3-year contract, they too are freezing their fee.
My concern is this, though, that with that 3-year deal, that's $285,000, and with our financial situation within the district, who knows where we're going to be in 2 years. So I'm thinking maybe that's something we could put out to bid possibly. One other item I have, F2811, the PSG. What's the fee for that to see how much money we're going to save?
There's an initial $5,000 deposit, and if they are not able to save any money for us, that $5,000 deposit is returned. If they are able to save less than the $5,000, the difference is returned to the school district.
Okay. I'd like to read a 4-paragraph, 5-paragraph. This happened to be in the Greensburg Tribune Review today, the editorial section. I thought that I should share it. Those of you that don't get the Tribune Review, this kind of hits home, and this touches all our bases here at Laurel Valley. From the proposed school closings to warnings of gargantuan tax increases, school districts statewide are screaming about Governor Tom Corbett's budget cuts and what they will mean to education. And yet, for all the misery envisioned, certain details are being ignored, such as the fact that despite state increases in the school funding for each year of Governor Rendell's administration, property taxes in many districts continue to increase. The Commonwealth Foundation reports that an issue is the school's district spending. Rather than cut and run, Republican lawmakers in Corbett's office have offered common sense suggestions, such as a 1-year teacher salary freeze, estimated savings of $400 million, and reform of the Pennsylvania Public School Code to eliminate unfounded mandates that serve special interests, not school children. Additionally, the Pennsylvania Institute of Certified Public Accountants has compiled a recommendation that could save more than $1 billion by reducing top-heavy administration staffs and holding administrative costs to 4.3% of the total budget expenditures. The fact that many districts rely on reserve funds to balance their budget exposes the unsustainable expanse of district spending. Getting this under control requires some fresh approaches. I think that's something that we can all just sit back and look at. Obviously, what we have right now is failed. It's something that happens in life. You fail. The administrator, superintendent, you've tried to put a budget together and it's failed. It's not working. What you need to do is sit up, get on it, make the cuts we need, and get a budget in there that'll work. We have to have the school open next year. If you don't balance the budget, there's a good chance that's not going to happen. So, as Mr. Mayor said, it's handed to them to make the tough choices. Mr. Mayor, you have my permission to make the tough choices. We need to balance the budget and move on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Doring. Kristin Teeter, followed by Carol Henderson.
I just have 2 quick questions. Last month I had asked you if you put administrative, like guidance counselors or an assistant principal back in his classroom, if they would stay at their administrative salary, or if they would go back to a teacher's salary, and you said you would check on that?
Yes, I talked with PSBA last week, and there is no crystal clear direction on that, but their advice was that the administrator would maintain the administrative salary to avoid what would be considered a demotion. I think probably Mr. Rafferty will look further at that, but from PSBA, that was their final direction.